Hi, and welcome to another Monday Live after another weekend, funnily enough. The weather perked up here, but it definitely seems like autumn now. And but what a lovely little patch of weather I think most of us have had before autumn's really started. And of course, the start of autumn is going to signal the end of pre-emptember. I'm hoping you've had some fun with your preempts this month. We're going to finish our discussion of preempts today. I've got 3 or 4 more that you've sent in, so thank you very much for all those. Sorry, I won't have used them all, but I'm using as many as I can, and they've been good. They've been useful. You know, they come up so regularly. It's really important to try. And the advantage of doing more for a period of time is that you then hopefully learn when it's good and when it's bad. So almost choosing a month like pre-emptember to bid a few more preempts and maybe be able to look back at the ones that worked and the ones that didn't. Now, bear in mind, good preempts sometimes don't work and bad preempts sometimes do work, because you've got to bear that in mind, but we shall see. So what have I got in store? Well, we've got the prize teams this week. We have our prize teams, and that's on special offer as well. So those of you who want to watch that, that's at half price at £3. But obviously the members are getting that included. And I've got 3 players. I haven't got the 4th player, and I will come to that slightly later in the in our live stream. We've got our beginners. Remember, that's at the end. I usually do about 30 to 35 minutes, and then I do a short little bit for beginners at the end of that. Charity events, we've got 2 now on our site. We have one, we're promoting one in Middlesex, which is live, and we've got another charity one, I think, from Pam Willis. Those will be up and running on our site, and you'll be able to see them advertised. What am I up to? Well, I've got a live event coming up. Yes, we're going to Devon, so looking forward to that. That's October the 11th. It's not long now. It's 2 Mondays' time. So next Monday is the first one on the new topic, and then the day after that, I'm down in Devon. But I would have recorded a live for that one, because generally when I'm working, I will still do the Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So it's only when I'm on holiday that I won't. In fact, next time I'm on holiday is half term. Not that Alfie's at school yet. What else am I doing? Well, I'm going to try using the Brian app on some of our events. Those of you not used to that, that's an app which you can do the scoring on your phone or on your tablet and those kind of things. And they use it a lot at cafe bridge events, because obviously you can't take various things with you. So with that in mind, I'm playing in a cafe bridge event. I'm going to be playing in Guildford. Anybody who's there, I'll be able to say that's on the 7th of October in Guildford. I think there's still space there if you're interested. That's a cafe bridge event in Guildford, 7th of October. You can look that up on Cafe Bridge as a whole. I'm going to be playing with Ned Paul, those of you who know Ned, so we will hopefully have some fun there, and I'll be able to say hello to some of you. That's 4 days before I'm going off to Devon, so yes, so we'll see. So it should be exciting times, hopefully. And what else have we got to talk about? Well, we are promoting all the events that we've got up until June now. So if you look in the calendar, if you haven't looked at the Bridge, our holiday site, do look at the holiday site. You've got a number of different things. Obviously, you've got all the cruises that we're selling there. And we've also now got our bridge weekends in England up until June, and beyond that I'll hopefully be open to new suggestions of places, etc., as well as the old ones, so we will see. And hopefully, if all goes well on the first one with Devon, we'll put some pictures up on the site, and we'll then be able to get going with all the rest, as it were. We'll feel more confident. Of course, there's Christmas and New Year that are available as well. And of course, we got Bridge on the site. A few people were playing on Sunday on the Real Bridge. So the Real Bridge is on Sunday evening and Monday afternoon. So just after this, really 2:30 this afternoon. So that's Real Bridge. And then, of course, the BBO events, one of which is Monday evening and Wednesday morning Thursday evening and Friday mid-evening. So you've got various things. You can see those all on the site. So let's look at our hand evaluation. I think that's one of the things we do first. So let's have a look at that. So you'll have seen this on Friday. Sorry I wasn't with you on Friday. I hope you are able to enjoy the recording there. We were talking about on Friday, we were talking about interference. And so we've been talking about the Jacobi 2 no trumps. But when there's interference, things change. And that's what we talked about on Friday. And I'm doing one more seminar on interference and how we cope with it with good supporting hands, and then we will move on to a different subject, probably defense as partner of the leader. So look at this hand. You've got what you've got, and what I want you to think about is, one, how you evaluate the hand as a whole, but secondly, imagine that East opened one club, one diamond, one heart, or one spade, and I want you to think about that. So one club, one diamond, one heart, or one spade. See how you feel about your hand and what you might do with the hand. Okay, so we'll come back to that after we've had a little look at our PowerPoint. So let's have a look. So we are still on preempts, and let's see what we can think about today. So I'll just remind you of the two main things that we talked about, which come up perhaps most with preempt, which were position and vulnerability. I won't go into the details. We looked at that last week. Okay, but what I did say was, when I'm second seat, so that means if an opponent has passed already. Okay, not if opponent has bid, that's different. We don't call that second seat, that's still first seat because they have bid. So if one player has passed, then I tend to be on my very best behaviour, and in fact I usually promise 2 of the top 3. The opposite of that is third seat. When your partner has already made a pass, then I will do all sorts of things. But this can, you have what we call a free license, but it's important to define that as a partnership, what that really means, because otherwise you can find yourself digging holes that get deeper throughout the auction. Okay. The idea, though, is that because your partner hasn't got an opening hand, it's almost always likely that you're going to preempt the opponents. Although we did see some examples last week where that wasn't the case. Vulnerability, of course, very simple. If you're vulnerable, be a little bit more careful. That's all. Just a little bit more careful, because you can get some bad scores. Going 2 off vulnerable, even undoubled, can be a bad score, and obviously doubled can be a very bad score. Okay, so what I wanted to look at today was preempting, which we can do, of course, when the opponents have opened. So what difference does it make when the opponents have opened at the one level? Okay, so they've opened one club, for example. Well, preempting isn't perfect now because they've had a chance to discuss, but still they may not have found their best fit. And they may not be able to define their points so well if we get in their way. So I still want you to be thinking about it in the same way. Looking at the points in your hand. Are you in front of partner? Generally, if your partner's already passed, you're going to feel that you're free to do anything you want. If your partner hasn't passed, be a little bit careful. Just because your opponent's open doesn't mean your partner hasn't got a decent hand. But there is a key element here. Because your opponent has opened, you are going to find generally that if you've got a weak hand and a long suit, you can get into them. And we are going to include weak jump over calls in the discussion when we look at the hands that have been sent in. That's important. So weak jump over calls are a type of preemptive bid. Okay. So once again, it's the vulnerability and position that I want to think about. And if they are right for me, I'm going to tend to bid. Okay, I'm going to tend to try and get in the way. And hopefully you would have seen this a bit on the teams if you've watched those, where I do try to interfere a little. Okay, aiming for disruption rather than constructive bidding myself. This is when I'm in the opposition, when the opponents have opened the bidding. Okay, so let's look at an example that was sent in. So this, the vulnerability you can see, East-West game, you are south, and this is the auction so far. Okay, so it's gone pass from your partner one club. Now, the most important thing when you're in this position here is when you've got a hand this bad, you do not have to make a bid. That's the first and foremost thing. So I am not saying, I would expect more than 50% of the people to pass here. Okay, and that is perfectly reasonable. Okay, but there's a number of things that are important to note. First of all, your partner has passed. At this point, you feel the opponents have a game on. Okay, you expect the opponents to make a game on this hand. Your partner's passed, you've got a miserable 5 count. So that means your opponents are making 600 points. Now, you are non-vulnerable against vulnerable. So east-west game is the vulnerability, which means north-south are non-vulnerable. That means it's what we call a green light. So when you have this vulnerability and you are the equivalent of third in hand, as you are because it's gone pass, I do like to make a bid. Now, what's important is 1 spade is not a good bid. 1 spade for me it tends to be a more constructive kind of bid. Let's get in the auction. 2 spades, assuming you're playing weak jump overcalls, says partner, I have a weak hand. At this vulnerability and in this position, it could be anything. 2 spades doubled could go 4 off for 800 points. I am prepared to take that risk. Okay, and the reason is because it won't be easy for them to necessarily judge to take that penalty because they're going to bid to game. And not only that, if they do manage to take you that far off, they'll often actually be able to make a slam on a board like this. Okay, why bid it? Well, it wouldn't surprise you that your opponents haven't found their best fit yet. So yes, they might have a fit in clubs, but they might have a better fit in hearts or diamonds. So if I get in the way now, quite often West will make some kind of takeout double, and if my partner happens to have spade support, we really get in their way. Remember, if we've got a spade fit, we're going to make plenty of tricks anyway. So I have to say I would bid with this hand. At the table they didn't, and their opponents had a free run to their best contract. Well, sorry, not a free one. North-South did introduce spades eventually, but a bit too late. So let's look at the full hand. Again, looking at the full hand doesn't necessarily tell the full story, but you can see that North had passed. East made a normal 1 club bid, and at the table it went pass 1 diamond from West. And at that point, East-West had found their best fit, and they weren't going to have too much troubles bidding at least to 5 diamonds. Whether or not they bid 6 diamonds, that's another matter. Okay, but bidding to 5 diamonds or more was never going to be difficult for them. When it goes 1 club, 2 spades from South, what would you bid with the West hand now? So 1 club, 2 spades, what would you bid with the West hand? I don't think it's particularly easy. I think double looks normal, but then it goes 4 spades from North. So a club, 2 spades, double, 4 spades from North. And West may well still bid 5 diamonds, but you can see the problem they're having here. They haven't found their fit yet. So it's going to go club, 2 spades, double, 4 spades. I'm assuming East would pass, and that comes round to West, and West may well carry on bidding, but you can see how difficult it makes it for them. Okay, so what we're doing is coming in. The vulnerability was key on this hand. It's a horrible suit, and the point is if you're at the right vulnerability and you're in 3rd position, you are allowed to do anything you want, and that's important. The only reason I'm bidding on this hand is because I'm non-vulnerable against vulnerable, and my partner has already passed. I'm in what's called 3rd seat. Okay, so when you know the opponents have a game and you can take a few risks, every so often you'll give that 800 away. But as you can see here, even if you gave 800 away, that's less than the 1370 I think your opponents can probably make in a slam. Not that many will necessarily bid that. Okay. So that was 1 sent in. Have a look at this one. This one is more dubious, I have to say. Let's see what happens. So once again, partner passes, and there's a 1 heart opening bid. Okay, so pass 1 heart. This really does. If you're in a regular partnership, you need to discuss your style, because notice this is game all here. Now, all I really want you to be doing is thinking about bidding here. I do not mind if you choose not to bid on a hand like this. This is absolutely fine. What I do want you to contemplate is the idea, and we're going to see two hands like this today, is the idea that with an extra card in the suit, you can contemplate making a weak jump overcall rather than a weak 3. So if I had the king of spades in that suit as well, so 7 spades to the king queen jack, sorry, 6 spades to the king, sorry, 7 spades to the king queen jack, I would overcall 3 spades. Okay, it seems perfectly reasonable to do that. But here clearly you do not have the strength. But the playing strength of this hand in many ways is the same as queen jack to 6 and the ace of hearts. So if I change the 2 of spades into the ace of hearts, can you see that you're likely to make the same number of tricks in a spades contract? So that 7th spade is generally going to be an extra trick. So I'm not averse to bidding 2 spades with this hand. Okay, you do not have to. Please understand that. If it was non-vulnerable, love all, I think it's a good 2 spade bid. Game all, it's a relatively risky bid. However, you know your opponents are in a game contract. Once again, your partner has passed and you have a 3 count here. Okay, so you know jolly well that your opponents can make a game. And all you're trying to do is get in their way. Again, I don't like a 1 spade bid there. That would tend to show you've got at least some strength in your hand. So I prefer 2 spades. I wouldn't want to bid 3 spades because that's just going over the top. Okay, but again, pass is absolutely fine. Okay, but this is preemptember, so I would probably bid a 2 spade bid there. Okay, again, these are hands I've been sent in. They're not hands I've made up or anything like that. These are hands that were sent in. I think the auction on this one went 1 heart. So it went pass from North. Interesting, North's got quite a hand, but I think pass is correct there. In front of partner, that's important. So it went pass, 1 heart, believe it or not, and then pass, 2 clubs. And again, they'd found a nice fit. Okay. If you bid your 2 spades, once again, you end up being thrown into 4 spades. And 4 spades makes, believe it or not, which is interesting. And these things can happen. So again, you don't have to bid 2 spades on this one. What would the auction go? I wouldn't be surprised if it went 1 heart. If you bid 2 spades, again, you may well get a double from West, 4 spades, and now it's difficult for the opponents to know how to judge. And I have a feeling you might end up in 4 spades doubled, let alone, excuse me, let alone 4 spades under. But I think you might finish in 4 spades doubled. And as you can see, the standard play if you're missing 2 cards is to play for the drop. So the ace of spades would drop the king, and all you would lose is the 3 minor suit cards in the North hand there. So it's a rather nice hand for that 2 spade bid. Your opponents are likely, if they find their fit, can bid on to 5 of a minor. I think 5 of a minor will probably go 1 off. Okay, because I think the defenders are likely to play the ace of spades first and then switch to the ace of hearts and a heart off. So amazingly, on a hand as weak as South's, with North having already passed, it turns out that North-South can make the game, and East-West, although they have all the strength in the world, can't make the game, which is not quite how you planned when you bid the 2 spades. You're assuming that a 4 spade bid from your partner is just getting in the way still, and most of the time it will. Please understand that. I mean, if we end up on 4 spades knowing we've only got about 13 or 14 points, we don't expect to make the contract. Okay, but as you can see, I don't think it's easy for East-West to judge. And so again, coming in can have all sorts of effects, but it's judging when to. If I only had a 6 card suit in that hand, I wouldn't be bidding 2 spades. I just think it's just too weak. Okay, it will work sometimes as it would again on this hand, but you know, you've got to have limitations. For me, having the 7th spade makes a lot of difference here. Okay. All right, here, let's just change it up a bit. Because I thought this was a very interesting hand that was sent in. So again, game all, your partner opens the preempt. Okay. So sometimes, obviously, preempting has two sides to it. When you open in front of your partner, you force your partner to decide what to do. So it's gone 3 hearts pass, and it's your bid. And of course, what's important here is notice the vulnerability. Game all. Okay, game all. So what does that mean to you? It means both sides are vulnerable. So I am hoping that my partner should have a decent heart suit. At this vulnerability, partner should have a decent heart suit. In which case, 4 hearts. Okay, and that's one of the reasons. Remember, you know, first in hand. Remember, you will often end up preempting your partner. So your partner wants to be able to rely on you a bit. First in hand, non-vulnerable. I'm quite happy to be relatively aggressive. Apologies. First in hand, vulnerable. Again, you can be aggressive, but have a good suit. Queen, Jack, 10, 9 to 7. Here, your partner having to have Ace, King to 7. Okay, again, that's fine for me. With 4.5, 5 tricks off in your hand, you've got all you're doing is saying, partner, I'm hoping you only need to lose two cards in your suit, and that's perfectly reasonable. Okay, if partners, for example, have got Ace, King to 7, it's likely one opponent has 4 of them. You'll lose 2 heart tricks, but hopefully still make the game. Notice the game you want to bid is 4 hearts. Okay, 4 hearts, not 3 no trumps. Particularly with your void, 3 no trumps would not be exciting. Okay, the lady who sent this one in, I say that lady or gentleman who sent it in, two of the tables were in 3 no trumps. 2 of the tables did finish in 3 no trumps, obviously, and getting nowhere near making at all, because you just, well, as you can see, there's no way of getting to dummies, so you just play clubs from your hand. You're lucky that clubs break 3 threes, so you can, I think, end up making 3 club tricks there. But eventually, obviously, 3 club tricks and 2 ace kings isn't going to make you a game. It's just 7 tricks. 4 hearts is comfortable. As it happens, the hearts break beautifully for you. Although, sorry, not beautifully, they don't break 3-3, but notice the queen and 9 fall. So when you do eventually draw trumps, you can try to draw the jack and the 5 by knocking them out. So you may well end up with an over trick in 4 hearts though. Okay, so really important that be on best behaviour when opening in front of partner. Second in hand, we said very good behaviour, because second in hand, half the time it is your partner you're preempting. When you're first in hand, non-vulnerable, take the risk. 2 out of 3 times you're preempting the opponent, so I'm quite happy to do it. Vulnerable, I prefer to be, and look at that heart suit, I think that's perfectly decent. I mean, ace king to 7 without even the 10, I'd be probably happy to. As soon as you take the ace king away, then make it king queen to 7 without any middle bits. A little bit risky, vulnerable. Okay, again, king queen 10 9 or king queen jack 10 or something like that, very different. Throw 10s and 9s in, I'm much happier vulnerable. Because the only troubles you get in is when there's bad breaks. I know it seems odd to think of bad breaks when you've got a 7-card suit, but generally when you get doubled, there'll be 4 against you. If you've got the 10 and 9 in that suit, it makes a huge difference, okay? Here, I mean, we didn't expect the 10-8 to be so valuable, but because the queen 9 falls, they are. Okay, so I thought that was an interesting one, and I will say that the sender, as it were, did bid 4 hearts, so well done to them. Let's look at one last one. And I think that will do us. So here it is your opening bid. So this is your opening bid. So this is the last one to look at on our pre-emptember. So you've still got, I'm just looking, 4 days, oh, no, is it 3 or 4 days to go in pre-emptember to get a few more preempts and send them in. What do you think of this one? What do you think of this one? So again, it's game all. And what's important here is, have you got the choice? For me, if I've got the choice, I don't like, that's not got enough solidity for me for a first in hand vulnerable preempt. Ace Jack 10, I'll do it. Ace Jack 9, I'm sorry, it's not enough for me, but I am gonna bid. Okay, well done. Ruben's pointed out the 3 doubletons there. Don't like them. Okay, so again, that for me makes me less likely to make a preemptive 3-spade bid. The queens are not. However, I quite like 2 spades. So all I'm doing is saying to myself, you know, I think this is a good 2-spade. It's a top of the range 2-spade bid. I think is perfectly reasonable. I think 3 spades is a step too far on the hand. Both of them would work on this hand, but I think it's worth preempting with the hand. Okay. What am I doing here? Well, 2 spades, I've got an extra trick there. So if there's a bad break and I get doubled in 2 spades, I have an extra spade trick because I've got 7 of them. Does that make sense? So, I mean, in theory, if you moved the queen of hearts into the spade suit, ace, queen, jack to 6, and moved a couple of spades into hearts. If I had ace, queen, jack to 6 spades, I think I've got the same playing strength. And of course, with ace, queen, jack to 6, I would open 2 spades. Nowhere near a 1 spade opener here, okay? It's an ugly hand for that. I do not mind a pass. I think it's a choice between pass and 2 spades, but I prefer 2 spades because I think it's a reasonable preempt. Okay, so I think an extra card in the suit can make up for your lack of solidity. So for example, if you've got an 8-card suit, you know, you may well choose to open a 3-level vulnerable preempt with it, even if it's not so solid, because you feel with 8 cards, the chances of there being a bad break are very low. So you will very rarely finish in it double. So let's look at the hand. At the table, 2 spades was opened. What do you think North should respond? Okay, I should say to those of you who sent them in, I've rotated a lot of the hands, so do bear in mind it is the one you sent in, but it will have often been rotated. I think this particular hand had the preemptor as West. Anyway, so 2 spades I've chosen to open, pass from West. What would you bid with the North hand here? So 2 spades from South, pass, and it's North's bid. What would you bid with the North hand? Now you've got to be careful here because a couple of people have come straight back with 3 spades here. I don't like that. Why? Because you've got a wonderful hand. You have a 7 loser hand. So I think your bid is going to depend on your partner's strength. So for example, clearly if I'd given you 15 or 16 points, you'd think about game. Well, of course I have, haven't I? 3-card spade support and a singleton. So I want you either to go for, I don't mind 4 spades, but I think 2 no trumps is reasonable to ask how good partner is. And here partner is going to say he's as good as he can be. He's got 9 points and the 7th spade should suggest that you've got a good suit as well. So for me, it's going to go 2 no trumps, partner, I've got the best I can bid. I might even bid 3 spades in response to 2 no trumps and then it'll go 4 spades. So I hope everybody's happy that the North hand here should be inviting game. Remember, when it goes 2 spades, pass, 3 spades, that is not inviting game. That is raising to the level of the fit, as someone put. So 2 spades, pass, 3 spades would be passed out. Here it should go 2 spades, 2 no trumps. How do you feel about your partner? Hand partner, Augusta, something like that. 3 spades, partner, I've got maximum points, and actually I've got a good suit. Slight lie, but with the 7th spade, I'm prepared to do that. Okay, and then it will go 4 spades. 4 spades is a great contract. Double dummy, I think you probably could just about get it off. All right, you could just, I think you can just about get it off. It would require extraordinary defence. It also requires a 3-0 break against you offside. So it's a very unlucky game if it goes down. If your opponents manage to find the perfect defence, well then don't play against them again. Okay, it would be extraordinary. Remember, someone's saying, don't you need 16 points to go for game? Well, North does have basically 16 points. Remember, you're allowed to use your distribution. You have a massive fit. So you have at least a 9-card fit and you have the singleton club. So for me, there are 12 high card points, but the diamonds suit is good enough probably to add a point on. So I'd say it's 15.5 to 16 points because that singleton is worth a trick. Okay, we add 3 points on for it as the responder. Often it'll be worth 2. You're a little bit unlucky. If South had 3 clubs, then of course it will often be worth 2 ruffs, that thing. So 4 spades is likely to make on this hand 95% of the time. I think just about if you had a heart lead and an extraordinary diamond switch, okay, is what it would require, I think. Can you do that? No. Maybe they can still throw. Anyway, Queen. Yeah, they might still be able to throw that. They might have to. Anyway, 4 spades is going to make. I'll tell you that. So we'll look at the basics defense in the beginner section in a moment. But we've got a few more things to tidy up. So let's first of all. I hope you've enjoyed Preemptember. It's been fun. And hopefully get a few that come up in our prize teams this week on Wednesday, because that's just about still in Preemptember. And as I say, do send me any more you've got in. We're going to shift next week. Next week we are moving to declare a play at duplicate pairs. So we're looking at, I'm afraid to say, the mantra of the seminar, that when you get to see it, is greed is good. Greed is good. I'm afraid that's what it is. When you declare playing at duplicate pairs, you have to get used to being greedy, because that's how you get the best scores. But that's what we'll be looking at next month, so that's quite exciting. Right, let's go to the Q-Plus here and remind ourselves of the hand we were looking at. So, as I've always said to you, 4-3-3-3 hands are not my favourite cup of tea. You've got the King 10 of spades, so there's a positive there. So I always downgrade them. Here I would say it's a reasonable 12 count. So you've got 13 high card points. I'd probably call this a reasonable 12 count note. But there are isolated honours, the Queen by itself, the Ace by itself. A King 10 is okay. But what I wanted you to do was contemplate also how you feel about the hand when you get a 1 club, 1 diamond, 1 heart or 1 spade opening. Okay, so well, let's see what we do have. And the opening is a heart. There you go. So you get a heart opening. So what do you think? Well, first and foremost, I don't feel I've gained anything with the heart. I suppose if it had been a club opening, I'd have been a little bit more excited about my King Jack. A diamond, I'd have been a little bit more excited about the Queen, only a little bit. But I've not gained a huge amount with the 1 heart opening. I suppose some of my high cards might be over East high cards, but I'm not excited. The most important thing for me with the South hand is it does not say to me, I want to play in a contract. Doubling on hands like this, okay. Now, the Continentals do it quite a lot. They double with an opening hand, and that shows any shape. I don't like it. And the reason I don't like it is because for me, a double says, partner, I want to play in the contract. And I want to be able to compete for the hand. Now, if partner has 4 spades, yes, you may well compete for the hand. The problem is, though, you are going to tell your opponents where all the points are. So on this hand, I'll tell you that your opponents are going to finish in 3 no trumps. Okay. They finish in 3 no trumps, either thinking, I think they've got 26 points between them. They're either going to think, okay, there's 14 points out there, probably 7 points in each, I don't know anything about the hands. Or they're going to be in a position of thinking, okay, so there's been a double from south. That means almost all of the points are in the south hand. So you are going to give a lot away about your hand. And how often are you going to win the auction? Well, the problem is, do you want to win the auction? How many losers are there? 8.5? Okay, it's not a nice hand. And it doesn't say to me, I want to play in a contract. Remember, when I double, if I choose to double, I am trying to get my partner to enter the auction with me. Partner, please try hard to enter the auction. 1 heart, maybe double for me, 2 hearts, 3 diamonds for my partner. Partner, you asked me to get in, I'm going to try hard. And vulnerable, notice, sorry, I may not have mentioned that. There's red squares, red triangles there. That means all are vulnerable. So I'm going to just tend to pass. Okay, and there's not much more to the hand. Let me just show you the full hand. I'm not going to bid the hand out. Well, I can do. I'll just pass again. they're going to finish in 3 no trumps. And what I want to do is just show all the hands. And let's finish the auction. I'll open up all the hands. And I'm not too worried about how we choose to defend, etc. What's important is the opponents have actually got 18 opposite 8. So that's 26 points between them. They have no idea where all the missing points are. So, for example, in clubs, they can choose to play clubs in any which way. In theory, they could go wrong. They could play a club to the ace and play a club black to the queen. And our king and jack might make, or something like that. Or they might even decide to take a spade finesse or something like that. Once we have doubled, if we double in this auction, East is going to play South for all of the points. Now, it may not make a huge difference, but it often will. So here, East knows that South has the king of spades. Okay, East knows that South has the king of clubs. Bear in mind they're only missing 14 points, so I suppose it's just possible that if South had the perfect shape, that he might have 11 points. But they'll quickly find out, because they'll be playing hearts straight away, that South has 3 hearts in his hand, so must have a strong hand. So I only generally double here on hands where I want to be in the auction. Okay. Now, if it goes 1 heart pass, 1 no trump pass, I guess I might choose to compete. Although I've still got a balanced hand, I still want to play 1 no trump. If you ask me what I wanted to play, what kind of contract I'd want to play with the South hand, I would say no trumps. That's what I would want to be in. Okay. Does that make sense? So whenever you've got a really flat hand and you think that your best contract is no trumps, well then you don't want to be doubling. Sometimes if you're 4-3-3-3, you might double if all of the points are in 2 suits or something like that. That's slightly different, but it's very rare I ever want to double with a 4-3-3-3 hand, except sometimes when the bidding's passed around to me. Maybe it goes a club pass. Okay, and you think, well, I might as well double just to reopen. That's perfectly reasonable. That's slightly different. Okay, but in the middle of an auction here, I don't want to be doubling there. I hope you're happy with that. Okay, so I've got a couple of things to say. First of all, the prize teams, I'm still missing a player, believe it or not. Both Sharon and Anne were drawn as the winners for this week, but neither of them can play. So I'm going to have to choose someone, and the last person on my list here is Ruben. Ruben, are you free on Wednesday? I'll have to get an answer to that. So that's Ruben Lewis. Are you free on Wednesday for the prize teams? He's saying no need to double. Let's see if he's got an answer to that. And if he is, he can play. And he can choose a part. He can play with a partner of his choice. I'll send him an email. Well, hopefully Ruben's up for that. Are you up for that, Ruben? Might disturb a Chelsea game or something. We'll see if he responds to that. Okay, what else is there? We've got the bidding quiz, and then I'm going to move on to the beginners. Oh no, let's do that. Let's find the bidding quiz. Okay, there we go. And we'll see if Ruben comes up with a yes. Okay, so there's the bidding quiz. Don't forget, you can always look up the answer. Oh no, Ruben's not free. Okay, it'll have to be Louise then. And Louise is next up. She was the next to play. So Louise, are you free? So there you go. There's pass, 1 spade, pass, 2 diamonds, pass, and it's your bid. Okay, so we'll see if. So there's your bidding quiz. Pass from your partner, pass. A spade, normal opening bid from you, pass. 2 diamonds from your partner, pass, and it is your bid. Okay, have a think. See what you think about that. Okay. Okay, so that's that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to a bit of beginners here. Okay, so Louise isn't free. I'm struggling. I have to go up the list now, see who's the last person there. Margaret. Margaret Black, are you free? We'll get someone eventually. Or someone else posts. We'll try Margaret first, and if she's not free, the next person to post can be the player. Okay, so I'm going to look at some beginner stuff here. So let's go to that. Okay, so good luck with that quiz. Hopefully those of you have a nice week. Hopefully see some of you on Wednesday. and others on Friday. Don't forget, last one on supporting the majors. Margaret's got a Chelsea game. So next person to post who's free on the live chat will be in the game. So there you go. That's a challenge. I'll tell you who it is when it comes up. And it's Pam Sears. Well done, Pam. Pam Sears is going to be playing in our prize teams. So that's a bonus. That was easy enough. Chelsea game. I don't think that's a good enough excuse, really. But anyway. Okay, so well done, Pam. And I will send you an email with respect to that. Okay, so let's go over to our beginners. Okay, so don't forget, you don't have to stay on for this. This is to finish off the beginners stuff. And then we will be done. So let's go to that. Okay. So we're talking about the very basics of defence here. So this is the very, very simple elements of defence when we first start playing bridge. And of course, the first thing is to identify each player. So I'm just going to look at the rule for the first player, the second player, the third player, and then the fourth player. So the first player to play is the leader. Okay, and there are specific rules for leading, which we will come across later in a couple of lessons time. Okay, so the first player to play is the opening leader, and we then have a set of opening lead rules. Okay, at the moment, and when you first start, you just choose probably a relatively random card, possibly even an ace, but we will look at the rules for doing that later. Okay, the fourth player, well, that's an interesting situation, because if you're the fourth player, you are the last player to play on a trick. So imagine there's been 3 cards played already, you are the fourth person. Well, that's relatively straightforward in a way. Okay, you try to win the trick if you can. If you can't win it, you play your lowest card. Okay, so you win the trick if you can. Now, of course, as a lot of experts will tell you, unfortunately, it gets more difficult when we play the game a little bit more, and there is a little bit to think about in the fourth position. So when you're the fourth, but when we're starting out, essentially, the lovely thing about being the fourth player is that you've got 2 choices. You either win the trick or you just play low. Okay, because you are the last player. You're the one who finishes the trick. If you can win it, well, then your side has won the trick. If you can't, well, then leave it to the others. Remember, though, of course, you're with your partner. So if your partner is winning the trick already, you don't need to win it, because you're playing as a partnership. Nearly forgot that bit. Okay, so don't forget, you're playing as a partnership. That's crucial. Okay, so let your partner win if you can. Now, what I want to focus on, though, is the second player. And then next week, we'll have a look at the third player. So when you're the second player, the general rule is simple. Second player plays low. Second player plays low. And there's a very good reason for that. Why do you think it is sensible? Well, the reason, of course, is that you have a partner who is still to play on the trick. If you're playing second, then there's still the third card, and the fourth card will be played by your partner. So you don't have to waste any high cards at the moment. Hopefully your partner will try and win the trick. Okay, so second hand, low, because your partner can still play to the trick. There's obviously exceptions to all of these things, but knowing the basics is so important, because we get lost. I mean, the most difficult part of bridge is the defensive play by a long distance, because it doesn't exist generally in any other card game in the same way. Okay, so understanding the rules takes a lot of effort, and having basics like second player plays low is important, because it means you can get into the habit, get it into your head that, okay, I'm the second to play on this trick, usually I should play low. There's one simple exception, of course, is that generally if your opponents lead a high card, something like a queen or a king, of course your high card, if you've got one higher than that, will want to kill it. So if they do lead a high card, then we might put a high card on that card. But if they lead low, we play low. So if they lead a king and you've got the ace, then you'll play it, because of course you know your partner can't beat the king. You're the only one with a card higher. Okay, if they lead the queen, again, your king would love to kill that. Okay, so you don't mind putting a high card on a high card, but if they lead low, I want you to play low. Okay, so if a high card is led, you're allowed to kill it, but otherwise I want you to play low, and we're going to see why in a simple example here. Let's have a look. So I want you to look at the 3 cards at the bottom there, the Queen, the 3 and the 2. The Queen, the 3 and the 2 of spades. Those are the cards in your hand. Okay, so you're sitting in the south seat here. You're going to get a lead coming from your right. That's the 4 of spades. You are next to play. On your left, you can see the cards in dummy. The ace, the 8 and the 5. Okay, so the 4 is led. You have the Queen, the 3 and the 2. And you can see what dummy's got. What should you do? Well, you are second in hand. So what I want you to do is follow the rule. Second hand plays low. So you would play the 2. Okay? Now that is difficult because you sort of want to play the Queen because you want to make it difficult for West. But it's so easy to forget you've got a partner. I think that Declarer East is leading to the ace of spades. He's going to play the ace. You don't need to persuade him to. I think he's going to play the ace. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so here is the layout of the suit. Declarer is trying to make as many spades as he can. He cannot see your cards. That's really important. All he can see is the ace, 8 and 5 of spades and the king, jack and 4. Okay, king, jack and 4 in his hand. We couldn't see those. He's got a plan. And if you remember, we tried this plan when we were doing Declarer play in the last couple of weeks. He's going to take a finesse in spades. Now, he wouldn't do that if he could see all the cards, but he can't see your cards. So what he does is he leads to his ace. We play low. And he's now going to lead, and he's going to take a finesse. And the finesse loses to our Queen. Remember, Declarer cannot see our cards. He didn't know that jack was going to lose. He was hoping your partner had the Queen. And if you remember the finesse, if North had had the Queen, well, we wouldn't have been able to beat the jack. So I think Declarer did okay. But we do need to keep that Queen in our hand. Can you see what I mean? If that Queen had gone, so if I go back just to the start of the suit there, imagine the 4 is led and you put the Queen on. Well, then the ace kills it and the king and jack are winners. Declarer would make 3 tricks. So second hand low. This comes up every single hand you play. Almost always when the first hand plays a low one, you play a low one when you're second to play. Because your partner's... Notice here, if you play a low one and Declarer plays the 8 only, well, of course your partner's there to put the 9 on. So if it goes 4-2 and Declarer didn't play the ace, he played the 8 instead, well, partner would win the trick with the 9. And that is the reason why we're able to play second hand low. So, interesting question there. What would happen if East led the jack? Well, what we're saying is if East had led the jack, we can kill that with our Queen. If the jack is led, the Queen kills it. Declarer wins the ace. He eventually wins the king. But he has nothing left after that. Your partner, your beautiful partner, has the 10 and 9. Remember, Alice, when you're choosing to finesse, you lead towards your high cards, which are surrounding. So you play small to the ace. So I think that's the correct play. At this point, imagine the Queen was in the North hand. A small spade is led. If North had had the Queen, if he plays the Queen, the king would kill it. If he plays low, the jack would win the trick because we wouldn't have had the Queen. Can you see that? So I think it's a good finesse that Declarer has done. Unfortunately for him, the 50% chance didn't work on this hand. Okay. He's taken a losing finesse, but I think he's done well. I think Declarer's done his best bet, but it's happened to lose. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. That's our little bit of beginners stuff for this Monday, and we'll try and do that each time, and we're going to build it up. We are eventually going to edit the beginner sections and put them in our beginners lounge. Okay, they'll be in our beginners lounge, which hopefully is going to come into existence. It's going to be called the novice lounge. That will come into existence within a week or so that's good. It's exciting. It'll have our begin bridge, etc. in there. Okay, and I'm going to be suggesting when we finish this little bit on defense that you do some practice from the hands that are in that section to get yourself used to it. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that today, whether you're a beginner or a main player, and we will see you again soon. All our Mondays, of course, are free to everybody. Wednesdays and Fridays are for the membership, although you can purchase them if you wish. Thanks for your time, and see you again soon.